I think this last year has been kind of one of the most challenging. It's brought together a combination of increased pressure in terms of funding.
I think it's been a real year of opportunity. We've been able to express our voice as an organisation like we've never been able to do before.
Overall, it's been a good year. Financially, it's probably been one of the toughest years we've ever faced.
But we've also had an opportunity to grow some of our strengths.
It's been really, really difficult. It's been difficult not just for HFT but for the whole sector. There are lots of political things that are coming in.
So we've had increases in our costs, so things like pension auto-enrolment, apprenticeship levy, increase in the national living wage, which is fantastic because it means that we're paying staff more, but a real challenge if it's not being funded by local authorities.
So all of that money has to be found, and we have negotiations with local authorities, and sometimes they're successful and sometimes they're less successful.
And we're constantly being pressed to do more with less.
So there are some things that you can't cut back on. You can't cut back on how you care for vulnerable people.
We have kept and ring-fenced our investment in staff training and development, and that has enabled us to maintain our position in the market as a good employer.
Recruitment's been a huge issue for us.
I don't know if it's just this year. I think it's getting harder to find people. I mean, just take this lovely setting here. We're sort of 5 miles down the road from a couple of fairly large-sized towns, but the sort of money that we pay is not dissimilar from what you would get sitting at a checkout of a local supermarket. And you need very special people to work with some of the people that we support.
And one of the great things about getting involved in the national living wage and paying the national living wage for sleep-ins has been it's enabled us to meet with ministers, to be part of the top circles, to be able to get our voice out as HFT.
The positive side is that we have seen the sector respond to that.
So actually, in terms of finances, a tough year. Having said that, I think we've learnt a lot about how to do more with less.
In addition, we've had one or two things that are quite specific to HFT. We're just at the end of a major Move On project. It's probably at the most expensive time of that.
We had 2 large campus sites within Gloucestershire, one Froster Manor, the other Old Quarries, and in its time was really innovative. Really isn't innovative anymore. You know, things have moved away from campus sites. It isn't the sort of service we should be offering people, and it's been a massive project.
We've had some real challenges in a particular local authority where we actually have had to give notice for the first time because the funding got so difficult. And finally, we've also been paying sleep-in top-ups.
So although the legal position isn't clear, HFT took the decision to start paying our staff the equivalent of minimum wage for every hour that they're asleep. And we started doing that during the financial year.
Where we weren't being funded by local authorities at that stage, they still weren't paying for it.
We've always known, and we can see from the stories, and we can see from reviews, the impact of our Fusion model.
Fusion Plus is about looking at the Fusion model and trying to introduce some form of evaluation.
I think as an organisation we have to refresh Fusion and we have to set our ambition really high.
So to that end, we've developed the expert practitioner model.
And then what we will be able to do is evidence that we can deliver better outcomes than just by hour commissioning, which we currently do. We've also managed to get some really good progress in terms of restructuring and improving our cost base, which will pay off in future years. We've also disposed of some pieces of land that we no longer needed, for instance Ponty land up here near Newcastle, and we transferred Standing Grange to Future Directions, which I think was a very positive move for that particular site.
So actually, in terms of some of the real issues, we've managed to turn them into positives. So overall, a good year, I think.
Despite all the financial challenges, we've had some real successes, and I think HFT has really made some big stride forwards over the year. And I'm very proud of what the staff teams have been able to achieve in the pressurised funding environment we found ourselves in.